Sometimes, a chance encounter can change your whole life. Have you ever wondered what would happen if a small moment in your life was the starting point for a journey you never imagined? An accidental glance, an aimless step, or even an arrogant kick? Today's story is not just about a blind girl and her guide dog. It is a journey through darkness. Not just darkness in the eyes, but also darkness in the soul. It is a story about memories that seem to have been forgotten, about invisible scars that cannot be erased, and about a bond so strong that it can awaken the deepest parts of the human heart. You will witness moments that will make you choke, moments that will make you wonder, have I ever truly understood the person beside me? And perhaps this story will make you look back at yourself to realize that sometimes the greatest heroes don't need armor or titles. They just need to be there when you need them most. But before we begin, where did you find this story? Was it a random video that popped up in your recommendations, or did someone share it with you? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on a special story tomorrow. A story just for you, the person reading this. Because maybe it will touch the deepest part of your heart. Venice Beach, California, where the waves gently lap against the golden sands, glowing in the afternoon sun. Street music, the laughter of tourists, and the screeching of skateboards on the sidewalks create a vibrant picture. But amid all the color, Emily Parker finds peace differently. Emily, a young woman whose eyesight has been cut off by a tragic hiking accident, often walks along the beach with her loyal guide dog, Max. For her, Max is more than just eyes. He is a quiet comfort, a link to the colorful world she can no longer see. The sound of waves and the salty breeze remind her that, despite her loss of sight, she still feels life differently. But that peace is quickly torn apart. In the distance, the roar of a motorbike engine breaks the peaceful atmosphere. A group of bikers appeared, led by Troy Blaze Johnson, a big, tattooed man with a shiny helmet that seemed to challenge the world. He and his friends revved their engines, laughing loudly as they passed the tourists, seeking attention by causing trouble. Troy's eyes soon fell on Emily, a lone blind girl with her guide dog. He approached, his mouth curling into a sneer. "Oh, look, a girl hanging out with her four-legged superhero," he said loudly, his tone mocking. He stretched out his leg, lightly kicking Max as a mean joke. But Troy had made a big mistake. Max was no ordinary dog. Before becoming Emily's companion, Max had been a military K-9, trained to handle the most dangerous situations, from detecting explosives to confronting enemies on the battlefield. Troy's provocative kick awakened Max's dormant instincts. In an instant, his gaze changed, from gentle to sharp, like a switch had been flipped. Before Troy could register what was happening, Max had launched himself at lightning speed. He grabbed Troy's arm, slamming him into the sand in an instant. A growl rang out, not a bark of fear, but a warning that he was ready to protect his master at all costs. The people around him stopped, shocked by the scene. A few took out their phones to film, but no one intervened. The action only stopped when Officer Daniels, a Coast Guard officer, rushed forward. He pulled out his whistle and blew a sharp blast, signaling Max to stop. Trained to respond to clear commands, Max immediately let go of Troy and returned to stand next to Emily, his eyes still on her like a devoted bodyguard. Emily stood there, breathing heavily, her hands clutching Max's leash, completely unaware of what had just happened. She didn't see Troy rolling on the ground, his face pale, his eyes filled with panic. Have you ever wondered, do I know the people or dogs around me? Have you ever thought that behind an ordinary appearance, there is an extraordinary story that you don't know about? That day, Emily not only realized Max's bravery, but also touched on a bigger secret, a past she had never imagined. And that was just the beginning of an emotional journey between her and this special dog. After the dramatic encounter on Venice Beach, Emily still couldn't calm down. On the way back to her small apartment, she could feel Max's heart still pounding beside her. His breathing was rapid, but there was no sign of fear. Instead, there was wariness. A wariness too much for a normal guide dog. Little did she know, that very encounter had brought up a long-buried secret. As Emily was about to leave, a man stepped forward, his voice deep but firm. "Excuse me, I don't mean to bother you, but your dog, I think I know him." Emily turned her head, her blind eyes unable to see the stranger, but Max reacted first. He stood up straight, his ears perked up, his eyes fixed on the man, as if recognizing something familiar. The man was David Morales, a former soldier who'd served in the army. His eyes couldn't move from Max's collar, which bore a small metal symbol that most people would miss, a triangular symbol etched with a special series of numbers underneath. "That's the marking for military K-9 units," David said, his gaze thoughtful. "This dog isn't just a guide dog." Emily paused. The words rang in her head like an alarm. Max? A military dog? She hadn't heard that from the guide dog training center when she adopted Max. She hadn't known much about his past. Just a simple, dry profile, nothing special. But now, things were starting to come together. Max's reaction to the biker, the quickness, the precision, the surprise. Was this the normal instinct of a guide dog? Unable to ignore her hunch, Emily decided to dig deeper. She contacted a local veterans organization. After a lengthy call and detailed questioning, an agent confirmed that the symbol on Max's collar did indeed belong to a military dog that had served in the Middle East. His name was not Max. Shadow. Emily sat silently in her apartment, her hand lightly touching the soft fur on the back of Max's neck, a place she had thought she knew every detail of just a few days before. Now, the dog seemed like a mystery. Not long after, she received another call. A deep, husky, but warm male voice answered. "Are you Emily Parker? My name is Sergeant Ryan Cole. I hear you're taking care of a dog named Shadow. If that's him, he was my teammate." The words, "my teammate," made Emily choke up. She had never considered the idea of a dog and a human being teammates. She had thought Max was just a special dog who helped her move around. But now, the truth seemed to open up a whole new world. A dog who had faced danger, protected the lives of others, and was now accompanying her in a very different way. Have you ever wondered, how much do we know about our silent companions? Do we underestimate the value of a person, or even a dog, just because we don't know the whole story behind them? That night, Emily couldn't sleep. She looked at Max, his eyes shining with peace, but hiding an untold history, and she knew that she needed to meet Ryan Cole. Because sometimes, to truly understand someone, you need to hear the stories of those who have walked the line between life and death with them. A week after that call, Emily Parker stood nervously outside a small coffee shop in Santa Monica. She held Max's leash, but the dog didn't seem fazed. Max seemed to sense something. His ears pricked up, his body tensed as if waiting for a familiar signal. Would Max remember? Emily wondered. Would memories of the past come alive in his mind, the way they did in veterans after the war? The doorbell rang as a man entered. He wore an old army jacket, his face deeply etched with the lines of time and experience. It was Sergeant Ryan Cole. Though he had been out of the military for many years, Ryan still had a tough demeanor. But his eyes held a sadness that was hard to hide, a sadness that only those who had witnessed the brutality of war could understand. Ryan stepped forward, his eyes stopping immediately on Max. Without thinking, he called out softly, his voice deep and full of emotion. Shadow. Just one word. One name. But it was as if an invisible switch had been flipped in Max's mind. The dog turned around immediately, his eyes blazing. His tail wagged wildly, his body shaking with emotion. Max leaped toward Ryan, no longer the calm guide dog Emily had known. He nestled his head into the veteran's chest, making small whimpers, sounds of recognition, of memories that would never fade. Ryan leaned down, wrapping his arms tightly around Max. He whispered, "I missed you, Shadow. I missed you so much." Emily stood there, her hands loosening on the leash. She didn't need to control Max right now, because this was no longer her moment. This was the moment of two comrades finding each other after years apart, crossing the boundaries of space and time. Have you ever wondered, how durable can memories be? Can a soul remember someone who faced death with them, even if it was just a dog? After the emotion subsided, they sat together. Ryan began to tell stories Emily had never heard, pieces of Max's, or rather, Shadow's, life that she had never imagined. Shadow was more than just a canine, Ryan said, his eyes looking far away, as if he were reliving the old days. He was my partner. We were on top-secret missions together in war zones where the slightest mistake could cost lives. He told of a pitch-black night in the desert when Ryan's team was ambushed. Gunfire rang out. The sky was lit red by flares. In the chaos, Shadow discovered an improvised explosive device hidden in the sand, a deadly trap that no one else had time to see. Shadow didn't hesitate, rushing in to pull Ryan out of harm's way just seconds before the bomb detonated. If it weren't for him that day, I wouldn't be sitting here telling this story. Ryan paused, his voice choking. The soldier's hard eyes were now moist. He saved me more than once. Shadow saved my entire team many times. But the scariest thing was that he was never afraid. Those eyes, always filled with focus and courage, as if he knew how important his mission was. Emily listened, her heart filled with indescribable emotions. She looked at Max, now nestled in Ryan's arms, breathing steadily, but her eyes never leaving her former teammate. She realized that all this time, she had loved Max as a friend, a protector. But now, she understood that this dog was so much more. Max was a silent hero. Have you ever thought, heroes don't always wear armor or carry weapons? Sometimes, they're just a dog with loyal eyes and a fearless heart. Ryan leaned down and gently stroked Max's head. You've found a new calling, haven't you, Shadow? You protect Emily the way you once protected me. Emily smiled, tears streaming down her cheeks. He saved me more than once, she whispered, not just as a guide, but as a helper. The meeting ended in a respectful silence. Before leaving, Ryan bent down to hug Max one more time. He looked at Emily, his eyes filled with gratitude. Thank you for loving him the way I did." Emily held onto the leash as they left the cafe, but this time it felt different. She wasn't just walking with a guide dog. She was walking with a teammate, an unsung hero, and the best friend she'd ever had. And Max, or Shadow, knew it too. Are you walking with a hero you don't recognize? Maybe your friend doesn't have to save the world, just save your heart every day. After a touching reunion with Sergeant Ryan Cole, Emily Parker realizes that she is living with more than just an ordinary guide dog. She is sharing her life with a warrior, a silent hero with unspoken memories and invisible scars that no one can see except his eyes. In the days that follow, Emily begins to observe Max more closely. She notices little things she had missed before. The way Max flinches at the sound of a loud engine, the way his ears twitch at the sound of a police siren, or the wary look in his eyes as he walks through a noisy crowd. It's not fear, but instinct. The instinct of a warrior, always ready to protect. Emily understands that even though Max has left the battlefield, a part of that battlefield remains within him. But Max doesn't need to fight anymore. He has fulfilled his mission in the barren deserts and tense campaigns. Now, he has a new mission, one that doesn't require force or command. He's here to accompany Emily, to protect her heart more than her footsteps. Have you ever wondered, are we holding on to the past so tightly that we forget that the present is also worthy of appreciation? Are there parts of your life that need healing, but you don't realize it because they've become so routine? With that in mind, Emily decides to take Max to a rehabilitation center for retired K-9S. This place is unlike your average training center. Here, dogs who served in the military receive special care to help them adjust to civilian life, learn to let go of their fighting instincts, and find balance in their souls. On his first day at the center, Max seems confused. Memories of training, of the strict discipline of the past, seem to resurface. But this time, there were no sirens, no harsh orders, just gentle exercises, simple games to train Max's agility and keep him happy, not in stress, but in love. Emily stood outside the training yard, quietly observing. She realized that Max no longer needed to be perfect like a service dog. He didn't need to be constantly alert or ready to protect someone from danger. He just needed to be himself. Day by day, Emily and Max learned to heal together. For Max, it was learning to slow down, to enjoy the simple moments, chasing a ball, rolling around in the grass, or simply lying in the sun without worry. For Emily, it was learning to let go of the guilt for what she couldn't see, and instead experience the world through her other senses. The warmth of the sun, the laughter of strangers on the street, and the steady breathing of Max beside her. One afternoon, as Emily and Max sat on the beach grass, she stroked his head and whispered, "You don't have to be a hero anymore, Max. You're my hero, every day, just by being here with me." Max raised his head, his eyes sparkling in the setting sun. And in that moment, Emily understood that love doesn't need great deeds to be great. Sometimes, just the presence of a person or a dog is enough to heal the deepest wounds in your heart. Have you ever wondered, who is the unsung hero in your life? Have you ever stopped to thank them, not for the great things they've done, but for just being there? The bond between Emily and Max is more than a leather chain. It's an invisible thread woven of understanding, trust, and unconditional love. Max is no longer the shadow he was on the battlefield. Max is now Max, Emily's friend protector, and an indispensable part of her life. And for Emily, Max doesn't need to save the world anymore, because he saved her heart. Emily and Max's journey, or rather, Shadows, is more than just a story about a brave dog and his blind owner. It's a gentle yet profound reminder that we all have invisible scars. Whether we're a warrior who faced danger on the battlefield or a girl learning to walk in the dark, we all carry memories, pain, and moments that need healing. But the most magical thing is that we don't have to face it all alone. Sometimes, a friend, a loyal gaze, or simply a warm presence is enough to remind us you are not alone. How do you feel about this story? On a scale of 0 to 10, how would you rate this emotional journey? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story has touched your heart, please click like to spread this message to more people. Your small share can inspire someone who needs a ray of hope in life. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next stories, the surprising, touching, and meaningful journeys that await you ahead. Are you curious about the story of a homeless soldier who found his family after 20 years of separation? Or how a little cat changed the life of an autistic child? All will be in the next videos. Stay with us, because the best stories are yet to be told.